You see, one thing about life is that the more you grow in revelation and understanding of certain realities, of certain principles or laws that govern the human reality, the more you're going to succeed, right? And that is why the more you grow in not just the knowledge you get, but the more you grow in the understanding of certain principles and laws, the more you're going to produce different kind of results. You see, if you sit with me one-on-one, let's say you're a mentee, for example, and you ask me, what are top five revelations that when you understood about life and you began to implement those revelations, your life changed? If you interview me, say, you know what, your life changed every two years. What did you learn and apply that contributed to that? I will tell you. Any human being on earth, you see that is growing and rising and doing something meaningful. If you sit with that person, they're going to tell you that there is a body of knowledge, there is a body of revelation, there is certain understanding of certain key principles that when they got hold of that and they began to execute it, it changed the face of their lives. Life is a mind game. Life is a game of ideas and understanding and revelation. It's not about hard work, right? There's a place for hard work. But you see, hard work is just part of the ecosystem, right? And what I'm about to share with you is part of those things that when I broke into, right? You see, you can read, let's say, 10 books a year. I like to read more than 30 books a year. And sometimes in those 30 books, just you can break into just one revelation that you understand and you grab it and you begin to execute, it can change your life forever. Right. So, what I'm about to share with you guys today is one of those principles or revelations that I stumbled into just meditating, just sitting. Sometimes I just sit on my table and I get a pen and I get a paper and I'm just trying to understand the game of life, right? And this sentence you see on your screen, from low economic value personality to high economic value personality, I did not read it anywhere. It is a product of meditation. It's a product of reflection. It's a product of analyzing life. Because I was searching for something, and that thing was related to wealth creation. It was related to being an economic power, if you can put it that way. And as I was pondering and reflecting and meditating and just calculating things, all of a sudden, I just heard clearly, as Christians would say, so clearly in my spirit, move from low economic value personality to high economic value personality. And I started writing about that, started doing more research about this, but it became a life principle for me. And that's one thing about revelations. You break into revelations, principles, and laws when you are searching. You are where you are in life right now because of the current levels of revelations, understanding, principles, and laws that you have. I guarantee you, the more you break into more revelations, the more you're going to begin to produce new results. All right. So we're going to look at how to go from low economic value personality to high economic value personality. And when I began to research and read and develop this concept and this principle, I, I have documented so far 7 key elements that if you apply them into your life, you will be able to see that tangible growth in what you are doing. And today, we are going to be focusing on, I'm sure the social media flyer they share on your in your community. I'm talking about what you can either call, the Cather M model, which is one of those things. I just give a nice name to it, but I'm going to explain what it means, which is one of the 7 elements that if you are going to be a high economic value personality, you need to have it in your life. I was having a mentorship call. I have a mentorship call with those on a mentorship program like once a month, sometimes once in 2 months. And I was trying to walk them through a discussion I was having with a very, very wealthy and influential man. We were sitting and talking, and this man looked at me and said, Joybert, you have economic value. And that is one thing with people who have made some result in life. If you have relationships with, let's say, political powerful people, influential people, wealthy people, anybody who is doing something at a high level, anytime you're having a discussion with them, they're weighing you, they're studying you. Because many of those people, they guard who stays close to them. Right. So I was just having a normal discussion with this rich and wealthy man, and all of a sudden he said, Joybert, you have high economic value. Right. And what that basically means is that he was basically saying that you have the ability to create value at a level that can generate financial value for an individual or for an organization. Now, why am I sharing this? You see, the purpose of this session today is to share a few insights and ideas that can enable you as a person to go from that. If, let's say, you're the kind of person that you constantly struggle with finances, right? Or you are the kind of person that you are always worried about money. I'm not saying that you have, even Dangote still have money problems because he's still investing, right? But I'm just saying that, you see, there are people that they don't have money and they have sleepless nights about money and they worry about money. There are people that they don't have money, but they don't worry about money. You know the difference? The difference is the one who doesn't have money, but does not worry about money. There is something they know. There is a personality they have become that they know that money comes to me. I don't run after money. And that's where to get. That's where to get in life. To get to that place in life where the times or the seasons that you don't have money, guess what? You are not worried. You are not having sleepless nights because you know that based on who you are, based on the ecosystem around you, you cannot be financially stranded. And you can only operate from that level if you are a high economic value personality. When you see many people that they struggle with money and they have fear of their financial future, they have sleepless nights, they have worries, they have anxiety, all of those emotional manifestations around money. Many of those people fall under what I call low economic value personalities because they don't only lack money, they don't have a system around them that can attract sudden opportunities or sudden financial breakthroughs into their lives. I always fondly say that I cannot control myself financially because see, I can many times I've woken up in the morning and I don't have up to, let's say, 1 million francs in my bank account. I don't have up to 100,000 francs even. And before the day runs over, somebody has paid me a lot of money to be a coach or a consultant or a speaker in 2 weeks or the next day, right? Because and that's where to get to as a person. Get to a place where even you know that you cannot conclude on yourself. You can wake up in the morning broke, but before 12 p.m. or before 6 p.m., anything can happen in your life that can change your financial life forever. You see that? Because of the kind of systems that you have around you. You have created a high economic value model around you that even you know that you cannot just be stranded like that. You see? So breaking out of poor economic value to high economic value requires a body of principles, requires a body of knowledge. You see, I have been exposed to very rich people, right? And I have never met a rich person who is stupid. I guarantee you, it is possible to meet a rich person who doesn't know how to read well. But because somebody doesn't know how to read, it doesn't mean that they lack intelligence. I have met millionaires in dollars who cannot read well. What they lack is literacy, intelligence, but they don't lack economic intelligence. There is nobody who is operating at a certain level of financial freedom or financial rest that is not driving or executing a certain body of knowledge. That is why most of those people, either number one, they invest a lot in reading books and reading research, or number two, they are surrounded by experts around them because they're always making sure that they're having access to the right body of knowledge, to the right body of principles. What I'm saying is, you as a person, it doesn't matter where you are right now in your financial journey, in your economic empowerment journey. If you are going to break out from, let's say, a low economic value level to a high economic value level, you have to pay the price to acquire key body of knowledge or principles. And today I'm going to share with you one of the seven proven elements that will help you break out. Maybe you are listening to me and you feel that based on where I have been financially in the last 10 years, 15 years, 5 years, I am a low economic value person. So how can you break out from that level? And this is knowledge to pay attention to. Why? Because I always say that strategic knowledge acquisition magnifies economic opportunities. Let me say it again. Strategic knowledge acquisition magnifies economic opportunities. Show me a woman, show me a man that he or she constantly experiences economic opportunities that changes their financial life. There is a body of knowledge, there is a strategic body of knowledge that they have that you don't have. You see that? And this community is made up of mostly young people. Listen to me. If you're 30 years and below, I'm not saying that those are 40 years and above, 30 years and above cannot practice this. I'm 30 years and above. So, but listen to me. I want to talk to those who are 30 years and below. You see, one of the things that I think gave me an advantage in life early on is that if at the age of 18, I started reading a lot of books. You see that? By the age of 20, the things I knew, very few people at the age of 40 could know. Right. And because I went for a summer holidays one time to my uncle then, and that my uncle, that's my mother's younger brother, he will give you a book when he's going to work. Your job is to read. He will tell you, read 3 chapters. When I come back from work, when he's eating, you are summarizing what you learned. That was what, you know, uh, uh, um, that was what pushed me into knowledge seeking. I think I was in Form 3 or so, right? But what I wanted to say was that the only way to grow young people, if you're 30 and below, I'm saying so because listen to me. when you clock the age of 30 and above, and you don't know certain things about life, if you're not careful, you can. This is where the issue of midlife crisis came from. You know why? Because people waste their 20s, early 20s, late 20s, even early 30s. They live life anyhow. They consume entertainment. They drink and they get drunk. They do stupid things and just exist. And before they know it, they're 35 and they're 40 years old. And then there's nothing significant that they have, maybe as a skill set, as abilities, or maybe as material things. And that is when they want to start getting life right. Nothing wrong with that. You can still get life right. But you see, somebody who started doing the right things at the age of 20 or 22 will be a step ahead more than you. So what am I saying? 30 and above, 30 and below, and also those are 30 and above. Listen to me. The only way to grow is to abandon your strategy of doing what you did yesterday that did not work. If you don't know how to abandon some things in your yesterday that did not produce results and adopt new things so you can produce a new kind of results, there's a high chance before you know it, you're 50 years old and there is nothing to show for. I'm talking about, you see, if you would break through financially, you must pay the price to reshape how you think about economic value creation. And many people don't think about this. If you don't have the right thinking models, you don't have the right thinking approach as far as economic value creation is concerned, there's a big problem. Because if you are somebody, if you have studied human behavior and human lifestyle and in the economy as a whole, you will notice that one of the basic laws of getting money right in your life is that income rises only after economic value rises. It's a simple law. Your income rises after your economic value rises. It's a simple law in money. So you cannot be desiring income increase and you are not paying the price to increase your economic value creation ability. That's a simple principle in money. Your income rises after economic value increases. That is why in standard organizations, let's say you got your job in that company with a first degree. In organizations that have sense, if you go back to school and get a master's degree and you go to the HR department and submit your master's degree, many companies, they're going to increase your salary because your certification level has changed. It's a simple law that they're respecting. Income rises only after economic value rises. Because your income follows your economic value. That's why there are many people that they're constantly frustrated about money, having sleepless nights, worry and anxiety about money. They desire money to increase, but it never increases. No, they're breaking the law because the law is that your income follows your economic value. That is why you don't just read anything. You don't just go to any kind of program. If you're going for a seminar, a conference, you're taking a course, you must ask yourself a question: how will the knowledge I'm going to get here increase my ability to create more economic value for an individual or for an organization? Because you understand that simple money principle, that your income follows your economic value. That's why I always say that when it comes to money, listen to me. Poverty and living hand to mouth is often a knowledge problem before it becomes a money problem. It's a simple philosophy. Poverty is often a knowledge problem first before it becomes a money problem. You see, and we have to understand that people cannot consistently earn beyond what they know how to create. You cannot consistently make money beyond what you know how to create. You cannot. Your industry, the economy where you belong, is going to reward you based on what you know how to create. And that's why many people have financial frustrations because they want to earn so much, they desire so much to come into their lives as money. But what they are creating or what they know how to create is nothing to write home about. You see that? One time I was talking to my mentee, one of my mentees, and I just asked him, within the last 3 months, what economic value have you used your time to create? He was just looking at me because he was complaining about his finances. It's okay, no problem. So in the last 3 months, in the last 4 months, what economic value have you used your time to create? Because every day, people, many of you here, you knowingly and unknowingly spend most of your time producing almost no economic value, zero economic value. For some of you, maybe in the last 1 month, thank God that this program happens every month. Maybe in the last 30 days, this is the only activity that you are part of that has the ability to affect your economic value creation. So there are people that they spend day after day, week after week, knowingly or unknowingly, they spend most of their time producing almost or no economic value. That's a problem. You see that? See, you need to get to a place where this is how I live. If I'm not doing something that particularly makes money, whatever I'm doing that is not making money has the ability to make me money next week, next month, or next year. As simple as that. Because I am conscious that I am constantly spending my time in producing economic value, either directly or indirectly. So I may not be doing any job that can pay me right now, but I can spend time reading a book or watching a video. See, that video is building something in me that I can use in 2 weeks, in 3 months to create economic value and get paid. And that's why education alone does not create wealth. Education alone does not create wealth. It is economically useful knowledge that creates wealth. People don't know the difference. Do you know what watching a movie is education? That movie is educating you. Do you know that? Yeah. Being on social media and scrolling endlessly is education. But guess what? That education is not economically useful knowledge that can create wealth for you if you are just doing entertainment. I want to challenge you guys. And I hope that's what I'm doing right now. Because, see, these are basic life principles that they should fire you up and change the way you live your daily life. If this is challenging you, type I am challenged already in the chat box. If this is challenging you, type I am challenged already in the chat box. I hope it is. And I hope it is making you see some gaps in your life. I hope it is making you see some loopholes in the way you live life. You see that? You see. And before I get into my introduction, is getting too long. But before I get into this, but let me say this last thing, which you see, I've been exposed to so many human beings at different levels, right? When you get to speak and consult, you travel a lot, you meet all types of human beings, right? And I have concluded by saying that people do not permanently escape poverty because they received more money. Have you ever met somebody that the uncle, the aunt, or the father or the mother gave them money to settle them and they end up broke? Go and read stories or watch research of people that won lottery. They won millions. And 3 years after, 2 years after, they are back to poverty and even living homeless. That is why Africa is the way it is, despite the billions of dollars that have been sent to Africa as donations and funding. You know why? People do not permanently escape poverty because they receive more money. No. You will never escape poverty because somebody gave you £1,000,000 as a gift, or 10 million francs as a gift, or $1 million as a gift. No. No. When you see somebody who has escaped poverty, it is because they became capable of creating more economic value. Simple. If you want to, let's say you're listening to me and you're struggling with finances all your life, your parents struggled financially, you are struggling financially. Listen to me. If you want to permanently escape poverty, one thing you must get right in your life is become more capable of creating more economic value. Because it's a simple principle. When your economic value increases, your opportunities will expand. And when more opportunities come into your life, guess what? Your income will begin to grow. As simple as that. Because that capability changed. Let me give you a basic example. When Godi was introducing me, for those who are watching later, maybe on my YouTube channel, Jason Godlove is the one hosting this program. When he was introducing me, he said that we met at a wedding. And when I was asked to say something about my friend that I was his best man, the way I spoke made him to decide to be my friend. Right? And that was not because I had been developing public speaking skills and communication skills over the years. And we became friends from there. And months after, we have done a couple of things together, and God is always so gracious to give me, a financial gift to acknowledge me for what I've done. You see, but a simple 2 minutes or 5 minutes talking was what brought that together. What happened? Because I had the capability of talking in public. I had the capability of, holding people spellbound or getting the audience attention. Going back to what I said, you escape poverty because you become more capable of creating more economic value. And when your economic value increases, guess what? Opportunities expand. I got the opportunity of being his friend, a total stranger at the time. We became close friends. What led to that? Because the more new people come into your life, because opportunities come through people, there's a high chance that they're going to make more money. Because when people come into your life, opportunities that come to you expand. And when opportunities expand and you are good at utilizing opportunities, guess what? You're going to increase your income. You see that now? All right. Let me go to my. So today I was going to share with you the CAF-M model of moving from low economic value personality to high economic value personality. Now, the C in that model stands for what I call the culture of sharp intellect. The culture of sharp intellect. You see, many of us here, including me, your mother, your father, my mother, my father in his or her time, let's say in the 1970s, 1980s, there were some things that if they did not know, they would still get jobs. They will still make money. You know why? Because very few people paid attention to even, operating at certain levels. But in this economy, you cannot make that mistakes. You cannot make that particular mistake. Your sharp intellect, and I'm using the word culture intentionally. If you're going to be a high economic value personality, you must create a culture around you that the main aim of that culture is to keep your intellect sharp. I'm going to explain why that's important. If you're somebody who likes to study how things work, you must have understood that economic value is created first in the mind before it is created in the marketplace. You see, where we are right now on this Zoom session, this is a marketplace right now. But you see, what I'm presenting to you, I've been developing this concept like in the last 7 years, while I'm teaching right now. I didn't just go and copy this somewhere. No, I've been developing this model and this system, this ecosystem I'm presenting to you in the last 7 years. So what is manifesting right now in the marketplace, I created it first in my mind. And I've presented this in a couple of places and I have been paid because it is economic value. You see, economic value is created first in the mind before it is created in the marketplace. And that is why the culture of sharp intellect is critical for your rising as a person. Listen to me. Listen, I always tell my mentees, whatever is fighting you, whatever is stopping you, whether procrastination, laziness, entertainment, family, whatever is stopping you from building sharp intellect is a demonic force against your future. I'm telling you, and you have to conquer it. Many of you are demon possessed in terms of you are easily distracted, you are easily discouraged from doing what you know you must do to build a sharp intellect. If that's you, type I am delivered from today. Don't lie here. If that's you, type I am delivered from today. You know what I'm talking about. But I'm telling you, this is serious. If you don't have the right culture of sharp intellect around your life, you are directly destroying your next 10 years, next 20 years, or next 30 years if you don't change the trajectory. Write what I said down. My economic value is created first in my mind before it is created in the marketplace. A dull mind consumes, a sharp mind creates. If your job is under consuming, there's something wrong with that equation. I consume and I create. That's the right way to live. I follow other experts. I read people's books. I watch teachings that other people do. But I don't only end at consuming. No, I also create. You know what is important? Your mind is your primary economic asset. Your mind is your number one economic asset. It's not money. It's not a phone. It's not a laptop. It's not who you know. Your mind is your primary economic asset. And you have to create the right culture. You can never become a high value economic personality if you don't create a culture to build and sustain a sharp intellect in your life. Before, I like to read biographies and read stories of great guys who have done great things. Before people build businesses, before people build wealth, they build ways of thinking because it is the ways of thinking that will build the business and build the platform and build the wealth. You see that? We need to come to a place where I always say that sharp minds do not follow noise. Sharp minds, they focus on building something that can become an asset. So I want to ask you a question. On a scale of 1 to 10, rate the culture of sharp intellect in your life. Everybody in the chat box, on a scale of 1 to 10, rate the culture of sharp intellect in your life. Let me give you a basic example. That culture is that for somebody that, you know what, every day at 5 a.m., I read for at least 30 minutes. That's just an example of a habit that formed that culture. On a scale of 1 to 10, I want everybody to participate. But do you guys have like a chief, a leader in this community? On a scale of 1 to 10, I would like, if you are listening to me, your job is to listen and to apply. All right. So you can honor me by responding to my activities. On a scale of 1 to 10, everybody rate the culture of your sharp intellect. Don't be shy. This is a family meeting. Nobody's going to laugh at you. It's a way of me challenging you. It's a way of me holding you accountable. It's a way of me saying, can you think, look at how you're living your life and change it? Now, all of this is not to condemn. Don't condemn yourself. Don't feel bad. Now, the purpose is make a new decision right now. Make a new decision right now. Because, see, one thing I have learned is that my greatest investment is the daily sharpening of my mind. You see, the day I started seeing my mind as a weapon changed how I treat my mind. Let me give you a funny things, right? I normally drink water, but when I read the research that more water you have in your system contributes to how your mind thinks. I carry water everywhere now, right? Because I want my weapon to be sharp. And then when I read somewhere that when you do strength, strength activities, you lift weights, you do things that makes your strength, your bones to be strong and all of that, it affects the quality of your mind. I started going to the gym and running around and doing physical activities. I never used to do that. I'm a summarized guy. So why should I be doing sport? Right? Why? Because you see, the greatest investment is the daily sharpening of my mind. It affects the job, it affects money, it affects even how you're a husband, a father, it affects everything in your life. Why? Because your mind is the factory that produces every franc, every dollar you will ever earn. Let me say it again. Your mind. See, the current amount of money you make on a monthly basis is directly corresponding to the state of your mind. Because your mind is the factory that produces every franc or every dollar or every shilling, every naira that you will ever earn in your life. And let me tell you something. I hope there is nobody here who buys the philosophy that you are not that intelligent. That's how you were born. No. It's wrong. It's a wrong philosophy. Thinking is a trainable skill. You can train yourself to think at the highest level you want. Yes. Intelligence grows through deliberate practice. I'm telling you, thinking is a trainable skill. You can train your brain to think at a certain level. Intelligence grows through deliberate practice. Sharp minds are developed. You don't inherit it. Sharp minds are developed. You can decide to be an intelligent person from today. You can decide to be the brightest brain in your industry from today. You can decide that and pay the price. Begin to train your brain, and through deliberate practice, you can grow your intelligence. I always say this for most of you are Cameroonians here. Throughout primary school, I was the last in class. And when I share this, people refuse. That's a fact. Throughout primary school, I was the last in class. I mean, the worst performing student. You know, the guy who carries the class, right? And then throughout secondary school, I was a student at Chaffey Memorial Bible College by then, throughout secondary school. From Form 1 to Form 4, when I got to Form 5, I was promoted on trial. I had never had 10 average in my life. You know, in the Cameroon education system, you are considered to have passed the examination if you have 10 average and above. I have never had it in my life. My highest average was 8.25. I will never forget that number because that was the highest thing I ever did in secondary school. So, standard wise, they're like, this guy is dull and he's stupid and all of that. But you see, when I began to expose myself to more knowledge and gain access to some things, that changed. Many things contributed to the change, but it changed. Why? Because thinking is a trainable skill. Intelligence can grow through deliberate practice, through exposure. You can develop it. Develop the right culture around your sharp mind. It's very important if you will ever become a high value economic personality. The A in that model is agile experimentations. Agile experimentations. One thing I have learned with people that command high level value creation abilities is that they are very good at experimenting. See, if you are going to be a high value economic person that will change your financial life, you must learn to avoid waiting until you know everything to do something. You must practice agile experimentation. You must learn to build through disciplined experimentation. Because nothing unlocks new doors like trying new things. The more you are fast at learning, the more you can create economic opportunities. You see that? Because it has been proven over and over that economic value grows at the speed of what they call validated learning. For example, somebody who has an idea in their mind and is doing nothing about it because they want everything to be perfect around them, that person will always remain a low value economic person. Meanwhile, a high value economic person understands that, you know what, this idea, I need to start testing it. I must start experimenting it at this level, even with inadequate resources. That is what makes you a high value economic person. Why? Because economic value grows faster or grows at the speed of validated learning. You don't keep things in your head. No, you test it. Let me give an example. I never bring a principle, a topic to teach like this in public when I have not, number one, I will just put on my Zoom, press record, and begin to teach to myself. I experiment everything behind the scenes. That's how you grow your economic value. You don't come into the marketplace and you're fumbling. No. The moment you are in the marketplace, your job is to demonstrate competence. And competence will always lead to wealth creation if you know what they're doing. You see that? So avoid being the kind of person that you keep so many ideas in your head and you never try any idea or experiment it because you're afraid to fail or you don't have all the resources. That is stupidity. I have many ideas, many keynote addresses, training programs that nobody has requested yet for me to pay me to train them, but I don't care. But guess what? I have designed it, I have experimented it, and I'm just waiting for the day the opportunity comes out. And guess what? The more experimentations you do, the more you increase your competence. And competence is the backbone of high value economic personalities. So the faster you test, the faster you learn, the faster you refine, the faster you improve, guess what? The faster you're going to be a high value person. People that keep things in their minds never go far. Listen to me. Listen to me. Progress belongs to experimenters. You see this life? I have concluded that progress belongs to those who experiment. Perfectionists, they always end up with nothing to show for. People that want to have everything in place, perfect, everything sharp before they make a move, check their lives. You know why? Because they never do anything. It is doing that leads to high economic value personality. And you have the mindset that you don't fail, you learn. So you treat what others call failure as data on how to do it better. Because you understand that experimentation reveals value. So you can do it better. You see that? I want to challenge you. What is your experimentation quotient? Because, see, if you're ever going to be economically relevant on a consistent basis, you must have a curious mind and a doing hands. Curious mind and doing hands. It's very important. You must learn to experiment. Nothing will build your economic value creation abilities like experimentations. If you have it just in your mind and you're not experimenting it, it will never go anywhere. You see, I like to read old history, like sometimes 1,000 years ago, 500 years ago. And I was reading this book talking about the Vikings, right? For those who follow football, that is made up of Norway, where Haaland comes from, right? I always say that I like to test ideas like Vikings. You see, hundreds of years ago, maps were not that good, and they did not have Google. they did not have GPS. There was no internet. So here was There was a time in the between the 8th and to the between the 8th and the 11th century, the Vikings, they became the greatest explorers in the world at that time. You know what the Vikings will do? They will look at the direction in the sea and they will just push the ships into the sea and just begin to sail into the storms. And their goal is when we discover a new land, we are going to stop. That is so much bravery. So they will make long voyages throughout Northern Europe, across the Atlantic Ocean, with limited exploring equipment. And their goal is anywhere we see land, we're going to stop and then conquer that place. And that was what made them to conquer so many lands between the 8th and the 11th century. That is the kind of heart, that is the kind of mindset. Look at the sea, begin to experiment and keep going. You only stop when you find something valuable. That was what they did. And one thing I love about experimentation is that it builds your economic intelligence. The more you experiment something, you're going to learn more about that thing than somebody who is just thinking about it and has never done anything about it. You want to build more economic intelligence around anything, begin to get your hands dirty and experiment it. Agile experimentation is critical if you're going to be a high-value economic personality. The T in that model is thorough preparations. Thorough preparations. Let me give you a basic example that separates low-value economic people and high-value economic people. When you were in school, you will read very hard because you had exams coming up. And since you left school, you have no reading culture. That's a low-value economic mindset. A high-value economic personality, they do not prepare because an opportunity is coming. No. They prepare because preparation attracts opportunity. Did you get a difference? A high economic value person does not prepare because something is coming. No. Because of the way they think and they look at life, they prepare because preparation attracts opportunity. I strongly believe that preparation has a spiritual voice. I strongly believe so. There are many times that I have prepared a training and I told nobody, no human being. And in 2 weeks, a company or an individual will reach out to me to hire me to train or to do something. And they will ask, the topic they will give me will almost be exactly what I was designing and preparing that nobody requested. I believe that preparation is prayer, is prayers. It's a depth of prayer that tells God or tells heaven that this one is ready for this opportunity. I strongly believe so. Preparation is prayer. I have seen it over and over and over. That the moment I prepare something and I'm ready, an opportunity knocks that will align exactly with what I was preparing that I told nobody I was working on. Why? Preparation attracts opportunity. It has a spiritual voice that attracts things into your life. That's my personal conclusion. Preparation is not merely getting ready for an event. No. It is making up your mind to build capacity before the opportunity arrives. It's a unique mindset. It's a unique mindset. And this will change your financial state, I'm telling you. Because when you have that high value economic mentality, you will prepare so thoroughly that confidence becomes a byproduct for you instead of performance. What most people that lack confidence are not prepared people. Most human beings that lack confidence, they have self-esteem issues. That is the manifestation of something behind the scenes. And one thing I have learned about the spirit of excellence is that it is not spontaneous. It is a consistent preparation journey. I want to challenge you. You will never break out from low value economic levels of life if you only do things based on what you think is coming. That is why, if you have read about people that have made significant results in their lives, you will see that many of them have a reading and a studying culture because they believe in a life of consistent preparation. And it goes back to creating a culture of sharp intellect. It's your job to do that. And one thing I talk a lot about preparation is that we need to come to a place where we prepare beyond the minimum standard. You prepare beyond the minimum standards. Let me give an example. Based on the kind of desired future you want, what is the minimum standard of people who are making it in that future? And make up your mind to prepare beyond that standard. Prepare beyond the minimum standard. An example, let's say that I think education can fit the example better. Let's say somebody who is in, university, and the person is looking for first class offer, like the highest result they can get in their first degree. You see, there is a minimum standard of studying. Let's assume the minimum standard is 1 hour a day, 60 minutes a day. A student who is looking for first class, the highest possible result, he or she can make up their mind that, you know what, since the minimum preparation standard is studying for 60 minutes a day, I am going to prepare beyond that minimum standard, which is, you can decide, you know what, 2 hours every day, 3 hours every day. You know why? Because high performers exceed expectations before anyone asks them. You must learn how to exceed expectations because you understand that average preparation creates average results. And you also understand that extra preparation will create strategic advantage. You understand that. You understand that. You understand that basic life principle. If I want average results, all right, average preparation. But if I want strategic advantage, extra preparation must be in the game. And let me tell you something about preparation. It's a daily discipline. It is a daily discipline. Preparation is not an event. It is not a one-time thing. It is a daily discipline. And preparation compounds over time. Preparation increases market value. Preparation affects your expertise. And guess what? Expertise will command higher compensation. If you are not in the business of daily, thorough preparation based on what you are chasing as a destiny goal, as a life of purpose, you have made up your mind to be a low-value economic personality. Whatever that preparation means for you, you have to make up your mind. I will pay the price for thorough preparation. It is a decision you have to make. Next is high expectations. HE, high expectations. I think that this is one of the things that will enable you to conquer certain things in your life. What kind of expectations do you have for yourself? Low value economic people, they hope for the best in life. I'm telling you, if you're here and you live life hoping that life will turn out well for you, well done. You are a good example of low value economic personality. You just hope for the better. You're literally existing and hoping that something will turn out good. High economic value personalities, they demand something great into their lives. They have high expectations for something great to happen in their lives. So they set high standards because they have high expectations for themselves. They set high standards and they push for high level economic results. So you have the habit of stretching your expectations for yourself. You have the revelation that results follow the standard you set for yourself. That's very simple philosophy. Results follow the standard you set for yourself. So if you're going to be a high value economic personality, you need to come to a point in your life where you deliberately raise your expectations for yourself. You know why that's important? Because high expectation produces high preparations, stronger, consistent execution, and consequently, greater economic value. That's why you set high expectations for yourself. You see, for example, there are things I do on a daily basis that sometimes will not make sense to somebody who is just existing because of the high expectations I have for myself. There are things I want to do across the nations. There are certain expectations I have for myself. And based on those expectations, the way I prepare on a daily basis, the way I execute on a daily basis will not be normal to somebody who doesn't have those expectations. And I've learned that expectations will affect your financial ceiling. The kind of expectations you have for yourself will affect how much comes into your life as finances. Why? It's simple, because your expectations will influence every decision you will ever make in life. I was talking to one of my young guys. He's not a mentee, but just a guy that likes to ask me questions about life. And I told him that, you see, we all have made mistakes in life in one way or the other, right? And that's why one sign of maturity is that the more you grow and mature, there are some things you make up your mind it will never happen again based on your experience, what you have learned, and all of that. And I told him that So he shared some things happening in his life, and I said, you are behaving according to what you believe is possible to you. He looked at me, I said, yes. You are behaving according to what you believe is possible to you. If you believe that much more can happen to you, you're going to behave differently. What I'm saying is there's somebody here that if you believe that your life can produce more than what it is right now, your behavior towards reading and studying and building your mental intelligence will be different. Your current behavior is according to what you believe is possible for you. Listen to me. There are some of you here, if you believe that what you are going to do in this life will affect all the nations of Africa, all the nations of the earth, the way you're going to behave will change. So let me ask you a question. The current way you're behaving, what does it communicate to you in terms of what you believe is possible for your future? See, there's a way that when you believe that certain things can happen in your life, I guarantee you it will affect your behavior, especially behavior in terms of commitment, execution, preparation, and so on. And one thing I have learned is that expectations will determine the opportunities that you pursue in life. The kind of expectations that you have for yourself will determine the opportunities that you pursue in your life. Let's go back to building capacity. If you have the right expectations for yourself, you will pursue the opportunities of building capacity, and you will have a consistent culture of studying or taking courses or going to conferences, because you know that there is a level of capacity you have to develop based on where you are going to, or based on the kind of expectation that you have for yourself. You see that? So, do you even have expectations at all? Because I'm teaching on high expectations. Forget about high expectations. Do you have expectations at all for your life? What are you expecting of yourself? Low value economic personalities have zero expectations for themselves. So, are you low value or high value? Somebody is saying, before now, I was low value. I am changing immediately. If that's you, type me in the chat box. If you are changing immediately, type me in the chat box. I want to challenge you. Go and set some high expectations for yourself. I expect that in the next 10 years, this and this will be happening in my life. Set high expectations. That will change your life forever. I'm telling you, one of the best things you can do for yourself is to expect more from yourself. Expect more from yourself. Your greatest competition in this life is your previous level of value. Let me say that again. Your greatest competition in this life is your previous level of value. One law I live by: my brain can never remain the same after 24 hours. Never. It's a personal law I have lived by for more than 10 years. This brain, you must consume something that will enhance your ability. Because I understand that my greatest competition is not any human being. is my yesterday's level of creating value. My tomorrow's competition is my today's level of creating value. That is high expectation for myself. You need to come to a place where one of your greatest expectation is to become more valuable every year. Every year, you're becoming more and more valuable. If somebody doesn't see you or talk with you for 1 year, the next time they see you, they should wonder what happened to you. What happened to you? And high expectations create high economic value because you will do things that will directly affect your ability to create high economic value and change your financial level. Raise your expectations. Raise your expectations. Then begin to build knowledge, discipline, systems, execution around your life required to achieve that expectation. Let me use relationship example. People understand that better. You see, let's say you're a young lady. You don't wait for a guy to start asking you out for you to, raise your expectation. No. Raise your expectation first. Then begin to build knowledge, discipline, systems, actions, whatever around you to achieve that particular expectation. Low value economic people have zero expectations from themselves. Lastly, and I'm done. The M in that model is massive execution. Massive execution. I started talking a couple of years ago about knowledge obesity. Knowledge obesity. Oh, people, especially people that love conferences. Knowledge obesity. They have so much knowledge that is totally useless to them. I always say in business that execution is how ideas grow legs and make money. Execution is how ideas grow legs and make money. An idea will never make money in your head. Thinking is the seed. Doing is the watering. Everything starts with a seed. The doing is what waters the seed. You cannot desire growth if you are not executing. I always tell entrepreneurs, in business, growth favors those who are building, not those who are wishing. Stop wishing and start doing. Growth favors those who are building, those who are executing, not those who are wishing. Stop wishing and start building. Low value economic personalities are chief procrastination officers. They have so many ideas with zero execution. You can never change your financial life if you don't have a system around you of executing. Do you know every human being has economic potential and economic value? Everybody here. You have economic potential and economic value. Execution is the bridge between what converts economic potential into economic value. This body of knowledge I'm teaching today, I think this is the third time ever I'm teaching this concept anywhere in the world. They see when this idea of moving from low economic value into high economic value, when it came to me, that was potential economic value. That was economic potential. But you see, when I got to work, started developing the idea, started refining it, started structuring it into something I can present in a conference to a group of people, guess what? That was when it became economic value. Why? Because somebody can now pay me to present it. But guess what? If it came and stayed in my head as an idea, guess what? That is economic potential that will never make money. So I had to get to work and translate it, spend hours of refining it, documenting it, fleshing it out. So execution is the bridge between economic potential, economic value. Many of you here right now, you are full of economic potential, serious economic potential. The lack of consistent, diligent execution has kept you in that place. I always say that the marketplace rewards completed value, not unfinished ideas. There are many people here that your life is full of uncompleted projects, books you started and never finished reading. Your life is full of unfinished ideas. That is a major sign of a potential failure in the future. If you have the habit of starting things and not finishing, it's one of the most deadly habits in life. I'm telling you. You casually start things without ever finishing them. People have no idea the cost of that habit. If that's you, repent. If you have the habit of unfinished ideas, unfinished projects, have things are all over your life, but the same you want to be a success. See, if you don't have the discipline of finishing what you start, you have a long way to go in destiny. I'm telling you. And the marketplace rewards completed value. Unfinished ideas do not bless anybody. Economic value is not created by what you know. It's not created by what you imagine alone. No. It is created by what you consistently execute. Ideas only become valuable when executed. This is a very important philosophy to live by. Ideas do not become valuable in your mind or in a book. No. Ideas become valuable when executed. Yeah, and it takes a lot of discipline, a lot of self-control to achieve this. And execution is that bridge. If an idea is going to become a money-making idea, you must execute it. If an opportunity is going to make money, you must learn how to execute. You must learn how to execute. And you must pay the price to do that. I want to challenge you. especially people that you have so many half projects in your life, so many unfinished projects in your life. I want to challenge you. Begin to discipline yourself to finish more than you start. Let me say it again. Discipline yourself to finish more than you start. I guarantee you, if you become consistent in finishing more than you start, in 6 months, you will not recognize yourself. Many people start more than they finish. That is low economic value lifestyle. High economic value lifestyle, you finish more than you start. Because you understand that it is completed work that creates economic value. It is completed work that creates economic value. That's why I said that the marketplace rewards completed value, not unfinished ideas. You see that? Challenge yourself to be the guy who executes. Nothing gives you credibility as a professional, as an entrepreneur, like execution. A high value economic personality understands that execution is the marketplace language of credibility. You want credibility? Execute. Ideas are good. Ideas are the starting point. Ideas bring inspiration. Strategies are good. Strategies bring guidance, but it is execution that creates value. Many people are good at ideation, planning, strategy. Those things are good. But if you ideate, if you plan, if you strategize, the only thing that will convert planning, ideation, strategy into value, into economic value that can make you money is execution. So move from knowledge obesity into consistent execution. It requires discipline, self-control to do that.